Hello, welcome to the Bad Ear Part 3, Hyperacusis. Hyperacusis is one of these unusual conditions that means that you're hypersensitive to certain sounds. And this condition comes in a variety of different forms and is caused by a variety of different things. Tinnitus can cause hyperacusis. Hyperacusis can cause tinnitus. Lyme disease can cause hyperacusis. A car accident with an airbag hitting you in the face can cause hyperacusis. All kinds of things can cause it. For our purposes, of course, we're talking about tinnitus and the ear and that umbrella of problems where hyperacusis plays a big role. Now, if you watched part 1, I talked a lot about earplugs, and in part of that episode, I gave you my daily routine, which involved walking down the street. And if I saw a problem coming, like barking dogs or construction workers, I would stick an earplug in my ear. That is hyperacusis, is what I'm trying to avoid, because some of those sounds can really trigger the tinnitus and cause it to spike, and it doesn't come immediately back down. Sometimes it can last for a while. Sometimes it could even last for a day. I had someone blow a dog whistle right in my ear when we were trying to call our dog who had gotten away, and that lasted for about 3 days. I actually, at that point, I thought it was permanent, but the permanent spike and extra sound in my ear. So there's a definite connection between hyperacusis, oversensitivity to certain sounds, and tinnitus. Of all the problems I'm dealing with, tinnitus, vertigo, single-sided deafness, hyperacusis is one of the ones that I have the least handle on. So I would hope to record some more information in the future about this as I learn more about it and get more of a handle on it. And there's precious little information online about it, and there are very few ENTs that address it. They all address tinnitus. Many of them address tinnitus, but very few really are up on the hyperacusis as a separate issue. At least that's what I found. Often the problem comes from high-pitched sounds, and that's certainly my situation. And if you have hyperacusis, you know why I'm staging this in the kitchen. The kitchen is awful in terms of hyperacusis. Dishes in the dishwasher, the clanking of plates on the tabletop, on the good old granite countertop, tinking of spoons and bowls, these kinds of things. It's not a volume thing, it's a tone thing. So these tones tend to be very annoying. I mean, it's a bad reaction. What happens is it's like fingernails on the chalkboard combined with that startle that you get when someone surprises you. It's just this awful experience. And if I'm in a room, let's say a guitar show, which I used to have to do those, and I'd be in a room like that. I worked one show with this condition that I have, and in a room that large with all those people, there's probably 5 to 10 situations triggering hyperacusis. There's so many sounds and so much going on. There's a pitch here, someone playing a certain note on an electric guitar over here, someone crinkling a plastic cup over here. In that room, I have so many sounds of hyperacusis that it can become very unpleasant. So in public, such as a guitar show or a restaurant, or in a situation such as the kitchen, you may have problems with hyperacusis. So I found that the best way for me at this point is to use earplugs. And I talked extensively about earplugs in part 1, so if you missed that, go back and watch that. Another thing that I do is, I used to be a motorcycle rider for many years, sport bikes and touring. And as a motorcycle rider, as you're going down the road, you're always scanning, looking for traffic. You're looking for dogs running out in front of you. You're looking for people backing out of their driveway. You're looking for debris in the road. You're constantly scanning to avoid an accident. And every time I got on the bike, I avoided an accident. Every time. It's like that with hyperacusis. You're going to find on your morning walk with the dogs, you're always scanning, looking for a situation to avoid. Construction workers, neighbors coming with their dogs and they're going to be barking, etc. So you're always looking for avoidance, a possible potential for avoiding hyperacusis. it seems the best way to deal with hyperacusis for me at this point, at this stage of dealing with this, is to avoid it. It seems simple enough, but it seems the best approach. If I'm in a situation where I can't avoid it, earplugs seem to be a good way to go. Now the kitchen, I know that I'm walking into a nightmare of a situation. Cooking dinner, even myself making breakfast in the morning, I know it's going to be a problem. So I have a new earplug that I've been using, and that is camouflage, so you won't see it when I have it on. It's earplugs with it's a headphone with an amplifier in it. So when you put it on, I can turn the amplifier on and pull it up to the point where I can still hear a little bit, but it still helps filter out sounds around. It's really actually quite useful. You'll notice this is the speaker here, and this speaker has tape over it because this is my good ear, this is the bad ear. Again, I want a balance, so I mute the good ear and don't mute the input from the bad ear to try to get a balance. But this really helps. So anytime I'm going in the kitchen or I see someone else in the kitchen cooking and that, I always put these on, because avoidance is that you want to avoid the spiking of the tinnitus, because again, the hyperacusis and the tinnitus certainly are connected in my situation. And a bad hyperacusis experience can spike the tinnitus for hours. It could even go a day, or in the case of the dog whistle, it can go for days. So I want to give you a couple of examples of when the hyperacusis really triggered my tinnitus in a bad way. And these are the type of things to avoid. We went out to dinner with some friends, and everyone's sympathetic to my situation. And so I found that I'm going to talk more about social in another episode. But I found in my situation, outside is much easier for me than inside. There's less of an echoey. The sound seems to be less compressed. So we're eating out on the patio of this restaurant, and there aren't many people around. Perfect situation. One other couple, 4 people talking. Everyone's pausing and allowing me to catch up with the conversation, having a nice time. This is a bad example of hyperacusis because it was a stone patio with metal chairs. And 2 tables away, people dragging their chairs around, people getting up and leaving, other people coming, us moving our chairs around. That tone, that specific tone, sent my tinnitus through the ceiling. I was able to make it through the evening, but I paid the price. It didn't come down until the next day. Now, people talk about when the tinnitus spikes, they often refer to it as like a fog coming on, and that's a pretty good example. For me, it's more like I'm in a cave, and it becomes more and more echoey, and the source of sound gets choked down worse and worse. There's more echo and less sound coming to me. So that's whatever it is that spikes your tinnitus, you'll know it when it's happening, and it is connected to the hyperacusis. The second example was the dog whistle. Snuck up behind me, didn't see it coming, blow that dog whistle in my ear. That's pretty bad. And then just recently, I was on the computer, and my wife came up behind me to talk to me about something, so I swung around in the chair to talk to her. And when we were through, and I swung back to work, and she accidentally knocked this picture frame off of the piano. It sounded to me like someone had taken a plate glass window and hit it with a sledgehammer in my ear. It was so blasted loud, I couldn't believe it. I'm wincing in pain from it. It was just awful. And that spiked the tinnitus for the rest of the day. And you have to fight through that fog or the echoey cave. That's not a great example. I'll think of a better example, but let's say the fog, because of that thing that happened. It was just an accident. When I turned around and saw what she knocked over, it was a little bitty mini frame. It was a little metal frame with a little piece of glass in it, and it hit the piano. And it wasn't the size of it, it wasn't the volume of it, it was the tone of it. It was just like a knife going right into my brain. So I have one more thing to add about this awful thing called hyperacusis, that's the sneak attack. And the sneak attack is something you can't avoid. And all I can say is that you will get past it. I get past it. I'm sure that you would too. The sneak attack is when someone sneaks up behind you and blows a dog whistle in your ear. You don't hear it coming. Or, speaking of dogs, we have a big dog and we have a little dog. The big dog has a nice deep bark, doesn't bother me. Little dog he hits that tone that I don't like, and he will just start screaming, barking at the drop of a hat. We'll be watching TV, we'll be, having breakfast, whatever. That's a sneak attack. You can't see it coming, and I have no advice for that. It's just be assured that when it spikes the tinnitus will come back down. And as you've experienced it more and more, you'll realize that you'll have that comfort in knowing that the tinnitus will come back down to your base level, whatever that might be. So, this is the source of a lot of hyperacusis in my life. He was just barking like a lunatic, so I had to pick him up. You can tell in his face, he's just dying to bark. So hopefully he'll stay quiet through the rest of this. Okay, I've got one more thing to add to the hyperacusis. I think I already said one more thing, but this actually is the last thing. When you read about hyperacusis, they'll say don't use earplugs, because in using an earplug, it's actually making the hyperacusis worse because you're not getting accustomed to the sounds that are bothering you. When I read that, it's like laugh out loud funny. I feel like the person who wrote the article doesn't have it. At least they don't have it like I have it. There's no way you would subject yourself to it if you could avoid it. So I'm suggesting avoiding it and wearing earplugs. Now there is reason in what they say, and I'll tell you how I approach that. Again, we're in the kitchen because this is the source of a lot of hyperacusis for me. Hyperacusis, hypersensitivity to a certain acoustic sound, the clinking of dishes, etc. So if my wife is in here and I see her doing whatever, cooking, doing the dishes, whatever, I keep these guys handy. I put them on until it passes, because I'd rather not have my whole evening ruined with the tinnitus spiking and the unpleasantness of the hyperacusis. I'd rather avoid that. In the morning, I'm the one that gets up and makes breakfast. So she's in bed, and I'm in here taking the dishes out of the dishwasher, and cooking breakfast, and with the spoon in the pan, tink, 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 and the spoon in the bowls, tink, and all the coffee and all the things that make noise. I'm not wearing an earplug, and the reason why is I have more control over those sounds when I'm making them. So I can gently introduce these unpleasant sounds to myself and gut it out, put up with it in the effort of toning down the hyperacusis. So that's my approach to it. I would suggest avoid it. Wear earplugs and gently introduce these sounds back into your life. And I'm hoping in my situation, more and more, I won't have to be using the earplugs and can just adjust to it. They say the articles will tell you that it's mental and you can adjust your frame of mind and you're not resistant to it. Once again, the people writing these things don't have it like I have it. So this is hyperacusis. Now, you may remember from an earlier episode, I talked about the bathroom fan. I used to go in the bathroom and turn on the fan, and that would really be bad for the tinnitus. That's hyperacusis. Or playing the guitar. The certain sounds on the guitar, they just be really hard to deal with, so I'm having to use earplugs while I'm playing. Bathroom fan isn't a problem anymore. I don't like it, but it's not like it was. Playing the guitar, rarely is that an issue. Sometimes it is, but rarely is it an issue. My tolerance level is coming up, and as far as I can tell at this point with fighting hyperacusis, that's our objective, is gently introduce these sounds back into your life that you find so unpleasant and get used to them, and raising the tolerance level. If you're fighting hyperacusis and you've noticed that it's directly connected to your tinnitus problem, I hope the information I've shared with you will be of help. So please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching part 3 of The Bad Ear.